I'm calling the meeting to order. Vanessa, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, here.
Vice Chair Milliken, Treasurer Davis,
Davis here.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty here.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher here.
Trustee Landau,
Landau here.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton here.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay,
I second.
Second, yeah.
okay, heard a first and a second. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken, I see him, but he's still on.
Milliken, yes.
Oh, thank
Treasurer
you.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Moving on to tab A, approval of the minutes. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes from the November 17th monthly meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So move to accept.
A second?
Support, Davis.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes from November? Okay, hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. First is our citizen participation. First, we hear from the WCCEA. Ms. Kissel, are you ready?
I am. Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Thank you.
It is December 2020, the end of a term, the end of the year, and this past month has been difficult for many of us. And while the WCCA membership continues to work tirelessly to create and manage the many ways to support our students, 2020 has taken its toll. We find that we are short on patience or energy to do that one more thing that always seems to be needed. The WCCEA continues to look for ways to support one another as we approach our much anticipated break. I'd also like to extend a special congratulations to Bruce Hackman, who is retiring after 22 years of service. Regarding WCCEA contract issues, we have one active grievance right now. There is a step 2 meeting scheduled this week with the administration, and the WCCA board will also have a chance this week to discuss the grievance in detail as we await the outcome of the meeting and any possibilities of future arbitration. The WCCEA does remain committed to working toward a resolution on this or any issue. For many of us, looking to 2021 and all of its possibilities brings solace and hope. We look forward to establishing some face-to-face connections and taking time to consider all that's happened in 2020. Yesterday, during the liaison meeting with President Belanca, VPI Hearns, and Executive Director DeLong, I quipped about not knowing what to share today. I was waiting for inspiration to hit, and thankfully I was inspired soon after. I am left in awe every day by what my colleagues have done and continue to do. Some days are made more difficult because of our virtual situations or personal stresses or other environmental pressures, but we get up each day and we try again. This keeps us all focused. We understand that we are surviving a pandemic and trying to do the best with the resources we have. We may not feel the desire or even have the ability to rejoice in that right now, but I know we will in the future. We are a community of learners, and we will continue to do the very best we can to ensure that WCC provides as many opportunities as possible to grow that community and make a positive impact on those around us. So my many, many thanks for the kindness, the graciousness, and the inspiration from the WCCA membership. And to the board, to President Belanca, and all of the WCC community. I look forward to seeing you all in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Vanessa, did we have any public comments received?
There was none.
Okay, thanks. And did we have any written communications?
There was none also.
Okay, thank you. All right, first up, under special reports, we will be hearing about the Entrepreneurship Center. EVP Hearns, are you ready?
Yes, I am. And
Okay, go ahead.
I am just excited to be introducing Kristen Gapsky, who is the director of the Entrepreneurship Center. And she is going to give a brief overview of the center. I'm so sorry. Of the center, but also talk specifically about some of the things that she's been doing or the center has been doing in the community to provide resources for small businesses as they respond and pivot because of COVID-19. Kristen?
Madam Chair, before Kristen begins, may I add a few words?
Absolutely.
This initiative started maybe 9 years ago, and it was part of our strategic planning process. And the reason I want to bring this up is because it was an initiative that was brought forward by a faculty member by the name of Kimberly Hearns. And I just think it's amazing to see how far that proposal and that initiative has come over the years. And I believe you will be amazed when you see what it has, through the leadership of Ms. Gaspsey, what it has turned into. So Kim, thank you for the inspiration of the idea, the gem, and now I turn it over to you, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blanca, and thank you to Kim Hearns, Dr. Kim Hearns, for being an inspiration for the center and for myself for the last 6 years. The center's been open 6 years, and the idea predated that by how many years? So thank you, and thanks so much for letting me present tonight. I'll click through this slideshow, and it is something that I will make into a PDF and I can send to you. There are links throughout, so you can link on many of the blue, orange links, and here, for example, is our website. So this is us as the center, and this is our team. There are ways to reach us at the bottom, and at the very bottom link is our business assistance request form, which I'll tell you about a little bit later. This is our mission, which stems out of the strategic plan for the college. I wanted to put this here just to tell you that throughout this time under the pandemic, we've been very active in keeping to our mission. So, excuse me, this is very important to us. And luckily, we feel like we've done a good job of keeping straight to the mission, even despite all the adversity. So what do we do remotely? When we work with students and community members who are largely new entrepreneurs or aspirational entrepreneurs, we've had to pause a few services, a very few, one being our free co-working space, which is on campus. And of course, that has had to be closed. Unfortunately, it's a lovely space to gather, a very welcoming space. We look forward to getting back to that. And we can no longer have on-campus free workshops and events. But as you can see on the right-hand side, we have many, many services we pivoted to virtually. We kept many of our main services, which I'll go into in a minute. And again, these are all linkable as well if you have the time later to look into these. These are our main services, again, working with students and community members. On the top left, what we mean by our team is that you can meet with us one-on-one. This is through our business assistance request form, which we've made very accessible, very clean and easy to access on our website. And you as an entrepreneur or a student come and meet with us or send in this form, and then we can meet with you one-on-one. And we do that virtually right now, either via phone or Zoom based on the person's comfort level with technology. That's a resource gathering time. So we see where you're at what stage of development, what interest level, what industry, and then try to help you from there, connect you to the right resources or to free events, resources, mentors, anything we can do to help people move the needle on their business growth. On the right-hand side, we have a newsletter that we put out weekly. This has become very vital. It's always been important to us, but it's very vital now because we put in there every week, not only our events and webinars, our campus events and webinars that have to do with entrepreneurship or business and local entrepreneurial support organizations events. But most importantly these days is we put business grant possibilities and opportunities. And these come and go very, very quickly since the pandemic. So we want to really reach the right people with the right opportunities. So that's coming out every week. At the bottom left, we have our business librarians who are still here doing what they do, which is offering free market research help for anybody in the community or on campus. And they switched to virtual meetings as well. So those are still on offer. And on the bottom right, this is our second year of our Entrepreneurs in Residence program. So this is a grant funded program. I was super excited to get off the ground last year, and we've gotten enough funding this year to hold it again. And these are for local entrepreneurs who are experts in their field, and they're sort of a next level up beyond meeting with us. So we lead people there when they're ready for that service. And of course, that's all free and virtual. When we work with faculty, we have, of course, some pause services, same type of situation. But the main one, of course, has been that two main ones. We can't hold in-center class tours, which we did many of every term. So we're doing virtual class tours. We can drop into a class for 5 minutes. We can do a 30-minute presentation. We can do whatever the faculty member wants regarding that field of study. We also do we don't have our boot camps going. Those are all-day events, and those have had to be paused. But I'll speak more about those in a minute. One of the highlights of working with faculty is creating our boot camps, which is one of our signature programs. We've held 8 in about 4 years. There are, I think, 7 here. Twice we had a photography boot camp. And these are designed with a faculty partner to go deep into that field, that department for their students, to talk about the nuts and bolts of running a business within that field. So not necessarily to have aspirational speakers at this level come in, but people who are WCC alumni, people who are local practitioners, who can talk about the very specific details of how to start a business within this field. Because of course, so many of our skills-based departments and fields will produce independent contractors or entrepreneurs. When we work with local established businesses who are our partners, we have many opportunities for them as professionals to speak on our panels, to judge at our pitch at WCC annual event. But a few highlights I want to point out have especially been very important to us and to the local business community under the pandemic. As soon as March 18th, I was invited to sit on a committee with county partners to help disperse business grants that came out. And again, these were rolling fast and furious from March through about July. We even have a new one coming out tomorrow through the MEDC that we're not involved with. But these are funds that come up quickly. And I was able to sit on this committee. Charlie Penner from the Small Business Development Center worked on this as well. And I was very proud to do this work, very honored, because I was able to advocate for our entrepreneurs. And I say that word, our entrepreneurs, because it's the type of clients who come into the center who are very much, of course, they mirror who comes onto the college campus. Many of them don't have access to generational wealth, to funding for their businesses. They may be from under-resourced communities, economically disadvantaged areas of our county, particularly the east side. And I was able to advocate for those independent contractors, solopreneurs, micro-enterprise owners, whatever term you want to use. And we were able to disperse those grants. And those monies came from the CARES Act. One fund was put up by the Song Foundation for $1 million. And Spark facilitated the grants, and the Community and Economic Development Office of the county helped with that and helped with the facilitation as well. Another exciting program that we're very honored to create, we got a $50,000 grant from Spark, and that same Community and Economic Development Office at the county enabled me to create a Renew program, which means that we're targeting very much who comes into the center, which is people on the eastern side of county who are running businesses and who are either minority, female, or veteran business owners. We're targeting the 48197 and the 4819 area zip code, because over the 6 years of our existence, we have noticed that most of our business owners come from the eastern side of the county. As you can see, there's components to this program. We got 62 applicants, and we're coming up with our cohort of 15 right now. So we're very pleased to be able to offer this to the local business community. Some of our milestones under the pandemic, I'll just cover a few here. We were lucky enough to win one of the main prizes at the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship's Pitch for the Trades. And I was very pleased when Dr. Kim Hearn said we could put up a team for this. So she and Dr. Jimmy Baber and myself were the team. And we put forth a proposal for an HVAC partnership pipeline, meaning that, as Kim always points out, we have some best practices at the center that we can marry with some of our departments very intentionally, and create co-curricular entrepreneurial education for our students. What our proposal was what our problem was that we put forward for the pitch was that in HVAC business ownership, they have a very high failure rate, even higher than your average business ownership, which is very high. So we wanted to add some of our best practices to our HVAC department and allow students to get this free entrepreneurial education along with their normal credit classwork. So we were super excited. We went through 3 phases and we won at the end, and we have $23,000 to put toward that. And then there's, of course, some other exciting developments here. We got to recruit students for some certain opportunities. Some are for students of color, for tech opportunities. So who does the EC support? These are our metrics for the last school year, ending at the end of June of 2020. On the left side, you can see we've clustered the businesses, the types of industries that come to see us. And of course, food businesses are a large part of that. And you can see from down the list who comes in, what types of industries. And again, we serve micro enterprise owners. So these are very hyper-local businesses. And on the right side, you can see that most of these people who come in are very early stage. They may be a 16-year-old WTMC student who's dreaming of starting a business. They may be an 80-year-old. We actually have a few 80-plus-year-olds. So we have a wide range, of course, the same range of our student population and who comes in and touches the college at various points. The number of intakes we've had in that period was 303. And what that means is those are individuals who fill out the business assistance request form and then have a one-on-one with one of our 2 coordinators at the center. And that's, again, for that resource gathering for them. And we moved to online virtual appointments as well, of course, after March 12th. And at the bottom, I wanted to throw in some more up-to-date numbers. So you can see that the number of intakes from July through December since then has been 139. To continue with some metrics, the number of entrepreneur and residence appointments during last school year was 149 individual appointments. That was between 4 entrepreneurs and residents. And we hosted many events, 39 events, but many of those were canceled from March to July. So that would have been a higher number in the real world. And at the bottom there, you can see that we've held 15 webinars from July to December since then. We all fully online, of course. This is a little bit about a few entrepreneurs that have come out of the center over the years. I love that Aaron Richardson is here on the right-hand side because he was one of the very first entrepreneurs who came in and I was introduced to in 2014. Also, I was very pleased with the Renew program I just spoke about. One of our very first entrepreneurs, again in 2014, entered and she's going to be one of the cohort. So it's exciting to watch people as they move along through this process because it can take many years to get to the point where you can actually open and become an actual business owner. So Delphine Reed on the top left here, she was in an On the Record article, and she mentioned her work with the entrepreneur in residence, Charnessa Roach, and how that affected her to the point where she was actually able to publish her book this year. And if you want to see more about our entrepreneurs, you can link on the bottom there, and there's more on our page. This highlights a lot of the partner organizations we work with very consistently. And these were the webinars we held from March through December, or really May through December, I should say, once we finally learned to go online and create them fully virtually. And on the left-hand side are community organizations or local educational institutions that we connect with and who the impact audience is when we create these webinars together. On the right-hand side, you could see our local, or our on-campus partners at WCC, of course. I'll highlight the top one. We have a series called The Business of Being an Artist, which we've held since 2017. And we host many, again, if you go back to those industry clusters of who comes into us, we see many creatives in the arts industries. And of course, that's partially due to we have a great graphic design, photography department, DMA department, digital video. So many of those students come in because they will need to become business owners or want to become business owners. So we held this Pricing Your Artwork workshop in November And we partnered with the HSBS division for many terms, but this last one was a really special one. We had 3 on-campus faculty speaking about how they price their different types of artwork. A few events coming up in 21. Right away, these will mostly be out in January and February, particularly showcasing the one at the top. We'll be having a partnership with the Ypsilanti District Library. We often host events for them, and that targets very specifically people who are coming to the library and using the library resources. And this will be a panel on minority business ownership and minority business certification and the pros and cons of that. So these are a few things coming up. So thank you so much. Thank you for letting me present on the Entrepreneurship Center. And we have a link here as well. There's a page we have for press coverage for various programs and events and workshops and programs we've held over the years. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. President Blanca or EVP Hearn, did you want to add anything to that?
I'll just, I'll
Yes, I would. Oh, I guess we both want to. You go first. Go ahead.
The one thing, I think that Kristen, kind of highlighted in her presentation that's really important to us is that the center has definitely served as a hub and a great big community outreach in a lot of really unique but tangible ways. We've talked at the board meeting in the past about the Monday morning meeting at Park Ridge. I mean, those are the kind of things that Kristen's always out, or her staff's always out in the community connecting. And so a lot of the things that have come to fruition, especially during COVID, the work with the county, the work with Spark, is because, those strong relationships exist. And entrepreneurship has served as a way to educate and reach more people. But I think it's also served as a unique way for us to play out the mission of the college and reaching, all of the different communities that we support and serve.
Thank you. And President Blanca?
Yes, actually, Dr. Hearn said what I'd like to say in terms of the respect and the partnership that we've received through our relationships with Ann Arbor Spark, as well as the other community agencies. And that doesn't come, overnight. It's a team effort. And I think everyone has done their part in creating that. But I do have to credit Kristen because it's leadership. And once we gave her this role, she developed it. And for many students, just like was it Delphine, the student Reed? Didn't she start taking classes? I mean, some people actually end up taking classes, which I think is wonderful. And not only that, this is not only a service for our students, this is a community service. So I'm so proud of that, because when we think about our residents that support a community college, I love knowing that they're getting something as well. So I think I'm very, very proud of the work that Kristen has done. And I look forward to seeing more of it. So thank you, Kristen. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions? If not, we will go on to our monthly reports. Okay, thank you. Next is tab B, the personnel recommendations. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the monthly personnel recommendations as submitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Hatcher.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Davis.
Thank you. Any discussion on the personnel recommendations? Any comments?
I guess I have a comment question. Between the 4 people on this report who are leaving after lots of years of service and the part-timers that are being hired, I trust that we're staying within the full-time, part-time ratio. with the WCCEA. And because we've always been very close. And in the pandemic, when we're losing lots of, there are about, 15 emeritus coming up? And there are a lot of part-timers. So I just hope that that's being taken care of.
President Blanca, do you want to respond?
No, your point is well taken.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Respect it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on personnel?
Diana McKnight Morton. I just want to say that with the number of people who are, have retired or resigned, from the college, their years of service is exemplary for the college. And I feel that I know they're going to get some type of, I feel that.
We've got a lot of feedback.
I think it's your,
Just turn your volume down.
it is
Yeah.
It could be me. Then I'm gonna have an audio situation here.
You're both muted, Diana. Okay.
Oh, there you go. There I go. I'm
Okay.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
For the people who are leaving, I just want to say kudos to them and their years of service to our institution, and shows how much they have contributed to advances from the time they started until now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on personnel? Okay. Hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
Diana, we didn't hear you.
You're muted, Diana.
Morton, yeah.
Thank
McKnight
you.
Morton, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next is tab C, the financial report. The recommendation is the Board of Trustees received the financial report for November 2020 as follows: General Fund, Deferred Maintenance Fund, Capital Fund, and Combined Schedule of Investments, all funds. Do I hear a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Hatcher, second.
Thank you. EVP Johnson, would you like to comment on the financial report?
Yes, thank you, Chair Fleming. If I could go to page 3 of the report, please. Thank you. Consistent with the prior months, our revenue, especially on the tuition side, largely because we're offering most of our credit hours in distance learning mode versus on campus mode, that you will see that our revenue is down both for fall, and now you're getting a first glimpse at winter revenue. So winter revenue at this point is down about 1.4 million. A portion of that is credit hours, but the majority of that drop, year-to-date budget winter versus actuals of 1.4 is due to distance learning mode. You'll also note that student fees is down, and now that's up to about 1.3 million down. Once again, consistent with fall, with not being able to offer most of our higher contact hour lab courses on campus, that the contact hour fees, which is a big portion of that student fees, is down as well. So in total, we're down about 3.9 million in tuition and fee revenue year to date. Based upon current trends, I think that the tuition winter will improve a little bit, but I think order of magnitude that it'll come out based upon current trends at about the same pace down as fall for that. On the plus side, you'll note that the state appropriations is higher than budget. To remind the board, we had budgeted assuming a 10% cut in state appropriations. The state was able to provide a level budget for us for this year. So that 800,000 better than budget should grow to about 1.2 million positive to budget by the end of the year. So that's a positive trend in revenue. And last but not least, down under other revenue, auxiliary revenue, those are both down. Other revenues down due to the non-credit training. Again, because of the pandemic, a lot of our courses we just haven't been able to offer. And then that's the biggest portion of that reduction. And that will continue to grow as the pandemic persists and its impact for course offerings. And then in auxiliary, that's the conference center. And that is down as well for the same reason related to the pandemic. So in total, revenue compared to budget year to date is down about 3.4 million, which is significant. It's part of that uncertainty that we talked about, just seeing how the pandemic would play out for us. The good news is on the cost side, if you go down to total expenditures, you'll see that we're actually below budget year to date, about 3.6 million. So about the same amount that we're down in revenue, we're also down in spending. And that really is reflective of the fact that we're not on campus. A lot of the, what I'll call the variable costs of running full on campus operations is greatly reduced, along with an ongoing effort, frankly, across campus to really try to find a way to conserve spending, knowing that we would have this revenue pressure. That really is kudos to everybody across campus who's been watching their spends very, very carefully in total. So that's the good news, that we have about a balanced budget year to date. Down under transfers, you'll see that the fitness center is down, so that's a minus 362,000. This also is a consistent story with prior months. We continue to lose members who are either canceling or bridging their membership. We're currently running the fitness center in its current state at about break even, which is good. The Power Wellness team has done a really good job of responding and doing a great job of maintaining COVID safety standards, offering services that they can offer, and doing it in a cost-conscious manner that aligns with the revenue that we have from members. So overall, the college is still showing a balanced budget. And at this point, I fully expect that will be the case throughout the year. That the additional revenue loss that we will see will be offset by further cost savings for the year. And so, Chair Fleming, that ends my comments.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Bill?
I have.
Go ahead, Dave.
Bill, so if you're predicting that we'll see for winter tuition another $650,000 come in, it sounds like if it's going to be similar to the percentage-wise to the drop in fall.
So Trustee DeVardi, we are year to date through November actual winter revenue of about $6 million. And so we have a budget of 10.4 million. So I think the 6 million will grow to about 9 million at its current pace.
Okay, so another 3 million.
Another 3 million, yes.
And on the property taxes, do our property taxes are paid on the summer tax bill, aren't they, or not? Because I know my winter tax bill I just got, and it used to be that we had to pay it by the end of December to not have penalty or interest. But this year they've extended that to the end of February. But I'm not sure if WCC taxes are on that. I think we're on the summer bill, right?
We actually, most of them are summer, but we actually collect about 80% of our property taxes is collected in the first 6 months. And then we collect about another 10% in the winter months. So there's a very small portion that comes in the winter. And then the balance really is about $1 million is delinquent taxes that actually is paid at the end of the year through the county, who issues some short-term bonds to cover that.
So some local units, taxing units, put the WCC millage on in the winter?
A portion of it, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Could you explain one more time for the old lady the variance in general administration and instructional services?
Trustee Hatchard, so when we budget, we budget at the organizational level, so at the departmental level, that every budgeted full-time position is filled 100% of the time of the year. But at the college level, we have a budget assumption, and this year it was around 25 positions on average would not be filled. And so we don't bring that to any department level. We hold it in this line called general administration. So that's a big negative, because that's a big savings that we would have assumed. And that doesn't get earned there. The vacancies occur in all the rest of the line. So if I was to pull out the year-to-date budget related to those vacancy savings, it would be about 1.2 million negative that we would pull out of there, and then you would see that general and administrative would be actually under budget a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next is tab D, the Facilities Development Report. EVP Johnson, do you want to add anything here?
Yes, please, Chair Fleming. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. They really relate to our two major projects, which is at the top of this report. So for the Morris Lawrence, we are about to go out for bid for a project that we estimate at around $10 million. We anticipate bringing that construction contract proposal to the board at the February board meeting. And so since this is such a significant project, we actually went out for pre-qualification with any vendor that would like to bid on our project. It's so significant. The timetable is so tight that we wanted to pre-qualify bidders so that when we finally put it out to bid. So the good news is that we had a very significant number of vendors, and we view that to be very appealing in the sense that that's a precursor that we think we're going to get a lot of strong activity to bid on this project. So that's really good. And then secondly, for the Student Center, the board had approved the engineering design contract with Fishbeck, and they are spending the entire month of December on campus doing an assessment of our HVAC system, which you might know is quite complex and is going to require a lot of analysis prior to come up with alternatives and recommendations. And that project will, once again, will probably come to the board in late spring with a proposed contract related to the SC renovation project. Other than that, you will note that we have completed many of our projects and then started a few. So like our elevator project, we've kicked off that project. AVP Whipstock, who heads up facilities, he really brings a strong focus in many of our building systems. So for instance, item 15 on the top of page 2, the heat loop filtration system. Craig has brought a brand new focus around the proper maintenance for all of our HVAC systems. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to put these preventative measures in place. But in the long run, we hope to really bring down the total deferred maintenance costs. And that's a really good example of that. And then last but not least, just to draw attention to the board, the very last page, we have a board policy requirement that for construction contracts that exceed 20,000, but not at the level 4 board, that we have to at least list them. And you'll note too, with Hutchins and Hutchins. And so what these are individual pieces of equipment. They're HEPA filtration devices that we are going to be putting in each of our lab spaces that are going to be running this winter. As you know, we did a lot of work to assess and certify every one of our spaces that they meet the higher air flow requirements for CDC specifications. That works great. We can open the louvers, get in the fresh air, and really kind of create that proper airflow environment. In the wintertime, and really kudos to Craig Whipstock and his team, they thought about what about in extreme cold temperatures. We can't keep those outside louvers open. We'll freeze off our HVAC systems. So we need to close those louvers. So how do we maintain that level of air quality that we need to? And so we've used CARES Act money, about $200,000 worth of CARES Act money, to buy these dedicated air filtration units that, along with our regular HVAC system, albeit at lower fresh air makeup, that we are going to not have to face that situation of having to close down a space because of severe cold and not being able to maintain the proper airflow. So that was a lot of good work by the facilities team, and we're fortunate to have CARES Act money to be able to support that kind of a purchase.
That's really good news. Are there any questions on facilities development?
Yes, I have a question, please.
Go ahead, Bill.
Lines 3 and 4 on the maintenance list refer to lighting matters and design and process. And last month we talked about lighting. Expressed my concern for indirect lighting and respect for dark sky considerations for outdoor lighting. And I wanted to know if any of that thinking is being incorporated in either of these items that we're looking at this evening.
Trustee Milliken, thank you. Yes, so I was not familiar with the term, so thank you for asking the question. And in our team, actually, the light fixtures we have in the parking lots today are dark sky lighting specified today. However, in the LED fixtures that we are specifying, they even go to a much greater level of making sure that we're not getting that wash of light up into the sky. And that is part of our specifications.
Thank you for that background. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions here? Okay. We are moving on to remarks then. First, remarks from the Board of Trustees. Anybody?
I have a remark.
Go ahead, Ruth.
There's been, Julie mentions it and Rose mentions it often about how much work has gone into innovation and planning and adjusting and flexibility for this COVID situation. And people have responded, I think we hear very, very well. And I'm thinking that at some point, either in January or maybe in April or May, I'd sort of like to see a group, a commission studying the year or the semester of what went well, what didn't go well, what we can use from this even in the future if it's not COVID, and bring together faculty and staff and maybe even a few students if we can get them, and to sort of rehash the year. What worked? What didn't work? What have we learned that we can use even when we're not in COVID and we're open? A sort of review commission of a very unusual semester or year, I think would be useful. Second of all, I'd just like to promote the English department's new book. And I maybe Vanessa or Rose can get the link to it. It's virtual, it's online, and it's called Origins, and it's a collection of poetry from faculty, staff, and students about origins, people's origins, and it's a beautifully published book. In fact, when you look at it online, it opens like a book, and then the pages turn like it, as if you were reading it yourself. I recommend it to the trustees, and maybe we can all get a link to it. And finally, I could mention this in the emeritus section, but for a variety of reasons, we're losing a lot of institutional memory. And that's always a problem in transitions. And I hope HR and departments are collecting stories and information and wisdom from the people who have been here for 20 and 30 years as they leave. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any other board members with comments?
I do.
Go ahead, Diana.
I'd like to piggyback just a little bit of what Ruth was saying. I've gotten a phone call from someone in the community who wanted to know, maybe Rose can answer this question, if the college is going to be doing any COVID-19 shots. And I said I didn't think so, but I would ask. So that's something I don't know if St. Joe's or Mercy Hospital has contacted the college about this with our involvement. Next,
Yeah. You want me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, they have reached out, the county has reached out to us and has asked us if we would be a site for the to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine. And we agreed to do so. And Larry Barkoff has worked out the agreement. And once they're ready, we'll be ready to pursue that agreement.
Well, then the back end of this, this person is a retiree from Veterans Hospital as a nurse and wants to know if it's possible that they could be trained to do that.
We're not responsible for that. I guess
Okay.
I'm thinking they should contact the health department
Okay.
to ask about that. We will not be administering the injections.
Gotcha.
So I would advise them to contact the health department.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, the next thing I want to say, there's someone that I know that is working at the college. And I ran into him last week, and he just wanted to say that I asked him, was he working still? He said, yes, online. And he said he is just ecstatic. He's so happy with the college, and he's glad that he's there.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. I was happy too when he told me. Yeah. He has something to do with engineering because he's an engineer. So he's teaching something in engineering. And his name is Darius Randolph. And he's very, very excited to be working there. And he said he's got all kinds of students. and he's excited about that.
It's great to hear. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Would other members like to make comments at this time? The only thing I'll add on to board comments here is about the pandemic. I'm really glad to hear that we'll be a vaccine site. That's really great. You know, this is our December meeting. This is our end of year meeting. And we're not going to see each other again until after the holidays. And one thing that I would like to reiterate and stress to everybody is stay home, stay in your nuclear families or your pods. Don't congregate for the holidays, because even though we have the vaccine here, and even though it's even going to be at campus someday, we're not out of this yet. We still have to keep acting the way we are. We still have to stay the course. We still have to stay with the plans that we have in place and begin winter semester in the state that we're in, you know. My primary, you know, point here is just please stay home and stay safe. Don't congregate with, you know, extended family and friends, you know. Instead, do a phone call. I'm not saying don't connect with people. You know, we have Zoom, we have phones, we have other means of communication, and please try to do that. I'm staying within my own little pod. The only family I see is my mom. That's it. You know, we haven't seen extended family for months, and I intend to, you know, keep it that way until we do get the vaccine and things start opening up again. So that's all I wanted to say is, you know, please stay safe. We got the holidays to get through, and then we're going to be starting the winter semester. And, you know, I just, I want to see us all get through this to the other side of 2021. Any other board comments?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Because I'm
thank you.
tired of the Zoom. I can't find a great place to sit, and I'm tired of this feedback with Trustee McKnight Morton's iPad.
Yeah, yeah.
So
all
yeah,
so
I'm
tired.
desperate for interaction. So
Yeah.
yes, please stay safe and healthy, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I'll add on McKnight Morton's comment about the faculty who was so pleased. It's exactly that I was trying to raise. We need to know why he's so happy with his classes and his students. What made it work? Why did it go so smoothly? And I'm not looking for things that didn't work. I'm also looking for things that did work well. And I think we can be a model for other schools. I mean, we may have to go through this with other pandemics or other issues, and we need to have some history on what worked and what didn't work that we can share. And so I'd like to know why that faculty was so excited.
Sure.
It's useful to know. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you for that. Any other board members want to comment? I'm going to turn it over to President Belanca then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think I want to begin with saying, Trustee Hatcher, I think that's an outstanding idea about having some sort of commission that reviews what happened this past year, and just, you know, just to understand what worked and even lessons learned. I mean, you know, because I'm sure we've learned a lot of things this past year. So, and it's a good suggestion, and one, you know, I'd like to talk to the team, and I think it would be something very interesting for all of us. So thanks for suggesting that. Like Trustee McKnight Morton, I hold my breath when you say, oh, I ran into a faculty member and asked them, how did it go? It's like, oh my gosh. So I'm really glad to hear, because, you know, boy, they really deal with a lot of different things every day. I you know, it's a perfect time for me to say that, you know, as we wind down the semester and the holiday break, again, I want to express my gratitude to the faculty and all the staff for everything that we've done this year. And yeah, it's been a real learning lesson. So I really do appreciate it. And as you know, the state's most recent emergency order was extended until December 20th, which coincides with our fall semester. But it did allow some of our technical classes to return to campus for labs that could not be completed remotely. And so we have to think about what's going to happen even in January. Who knows when we come back, if there might be an executive order. And I'm happy to hear that Vice President Hearns is going to be addressing this with the department chairs and talking about if that should occur for those hybrid courses, what does that mean for our students? And what in those select classes, not mostly the hybrid courses. Also, very proud again of our recent national recognition as one of the best community colleges in the country. There's different groups that rank us for different reasons. And in this one, I wasn't too happy about being number 5 in the country. I like 1 or no, but 5's not bad, 5th in the country. We were the only community college that was received this designation. And this ranking reflects the vast number of online programs available to students, delivered with quality at a real value. And it also reflects a commitment of our instructors to help students excel with online options. So I'm very happy for that. And our enrichment, Vice President Mueller, our enrichment department is continuing offering a free range of classes available to the community. And I know that and I know we're together in this commitment. We are not only committed to our students, we are committed to this county. And we will, we really want to take care of them the best way we possibly can. So having these courses that are free through our enrichment program online is a great gift that we can give to them. And I'm proud that we can continue to do that. And then again, we also have some that you have to pay for. So if you're wondering what to buy anybody for the holidays, it might be good to get a gift card, an e-gift card to our Washtenaw Community College Division of Economic Development, Community Development, and buy them a course. It's not free. So I wish everyone end of the year to rest and renew, and want to thank you for all your support and our teamwork this past year. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to old business, tab E. First, the network infrastructure upgrade. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve a contract to purchase network infrastructure equipment from CDW for an amount not to exceed $1,175,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Support, DeVarty.
Thank you. Any discussion on tab E? Any questions from last time? Okay, hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next is tab F, the Examity Learning Validation and Remote Proctoring Contract. Let's see. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the continuation of Examity at an annual cost not to exceed $200,000 for the 2021 academic year, with at least $75,000 being funded by the CARES Act. Do I hear a motion?
Hatcher, so moved. Second.
Okay. I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, was there a motion and second?
Yes.
Yes, I gave the motion, and I think Trustee Hatcher seconded.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
Is this CARES Act money? I know there's battling in Congress now about further support, which some in Congress are hoping will increase support to local units of government. Is this CARES Act money, is it running out, or is there still a pool that we can access?
Trustee DeVarty, this is Bill Johnson. The CARES Act money that we've been allotted is running out. And so the $75,000 that was indicated here is part of the portion that we've already been allocated, which the funds are available to be spent through April of 2021. So, yep.
How close are we to using up all the money that we were allocated?
We are fully utilized. With monies spent and monies such as Examity, for instance, that additional monies that we anticipate spending, we are fully utilized.
And then is there any deeper pool or any subsequent pool that we'll be able to access, or is all dependent on a future act of Congress?
That's dependent upon a future act of Congress.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go
Madam
ahead,
Chair,
President.
I just want to make sure the board understands that this is different than what we explained to you last week in the amount we're requesting. That's all.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure you understand that. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Ruth, did you have a question?
Well, I just wondered if in April or May we would see an accounting of the CARES Act money and where it all went. It's fun to spend it, but I'd sort of like to see what we did.
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually file there's monthly and quarterly reports, and they're out on our website. But I'll be glad to provide a full accounting for it, at April.
Yeah, at some point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this Examity? Okay, hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next is tab G, the emeritus staff. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees grant the retirees emeritus staff status as stated in our board policy 5045. Do I hear a motion?
Hatcher, so moved.
And a second?
DeVarty, second.
Okay, any discussion on tab G? Any questions? Go ahead, Ruth.
I'd just like to note that it is 330 years of service, and that's a lot of service.
Yeah.
So I think
It's
there's some
remarkable.
wonderful people who've done some really excellent work in that list. So
How many of those members do you know, Ruth?
I think I know most of them. Yeah. Not all of them are faculty, but it's particularly moving or important that Jim Egan is retiring. Probably one of the best faculty we've ever had on the campus, and a math teacher. I don't know if people know it, but he greets his students at the door every day and shakes their hand as they come into the classroom and calls them by name and welcomes them in. And aside, and he also teaches the math, but he is a very important member of the faculty. Yeah. Dale Petty, who's done all the work on environmental studies. So it's an impressive list of folks.
Yeah.
Sure is. Any other comments from the board here? Okay, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis,
Secretary DeVarty,
DeVarty, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next, we're going to new business. First is tab H, the Adobe Software Enterprise License. Mr. Kruger, would you like to comment here or let us know anything?
Yes, if I could, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Adobe products, which include Acrobat, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and InDesign, to name a few, are utilized in all facets of college operations, including teaching, learning, and administrative functions. In addition, Adobe products have played a crucial role in remote operations for the college. Broad usage of Adobe products enable WCC students to be taught using the latest industry standard software, thereby making their skills more valuable to employers. Today, Adobe products are of paramount importance to courses taught in the following instructional areas: graphics design, digital video production, technical writing, web design, and business office systems. After reviewing the options, it was determined that Adobe's Enterprise Term License Agreement would be the best for WCC. The license agreement offers WCC a 3-year price guarantee, the ability to purchase and deploy Adobe software in an efficient, targeted, and cost-effective manner, along with predictable budgeting for 3 years. With regard to pricing, Adobe negotiates pricing directly and does not allow third-party competitive pricing. Adobe does, however, utilize third-party fulfillment agents to place orders, and thus WCC will be using CDW as the authorized fulfillment agent for this Adobe software purchase. I recommend that the Board of Trustees approves a contract with CDW for the purchase of a 3-year Adobe Enterprise Term License Agreement in an amount not to exceed $219,658.80. That's
Thank you. Thank you. When does our current license expire?
The end of February.
Okay, so you're okay with the timeline on this if we approve in January?
Yes, I am. Thank you,
Okay.
Catherine.
Okay. Yeah, this is just our Creative Cloud software that like all the graphic design classes use. So I can't imagine we wouldn't renew this. Does anybody have any questions on this and what we use it for?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
I know we have a real strong animation program as well. Are any of these Adobe products used in that program, or is that a different vendor or a different software?
So that's a great question. I don't know for sure. I do know that the ones I cited here are just an example. So I really wouldn't think there'd be any other product besides Adobe, but I really don't know that for sure, Dave.
Okay.
It is what they use in those programs. Absolutely.
Okay.
I do want to add, I believe our animation program is stronger than University of Michigan Camp School of Design.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really true.
I've taken graphic designs here and I've loved my teachers, so I can attest to how wonderful they teach the Adobe stuff. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to the next tab. Okay, tab I, the TI building, the TI building window replacement contract. EVP Johnson, do you want to comment here for us?
Yes, please. Thank you, Trustee Fleming. The TI building, we had replaced the north and the west side windows over the last few years, and it is time that now that we replace the east and the south windows. This actually was a project that we had originally slated for next year. That was just based upon funding and availability of the space. But given that we are still in pandemic mode, it seems like it's an opportune time for us. So we went ahead and did the engineering work. We did the bid work on it, and are ready to bring a contract with Calvin and Company, who was the lowest bidder. This particular funding is coming out of one of our 2 maintenance funds. This is a campus repair and maintenance fund, to which this project is being funded out of for a contract cost of $112,000.
Any questions or comments here?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
Would, in terms of awarding this contract, would assist the timeline in getting it implemented to vote on it tonight?
Certainly, we can wait the two meetings for this one. So
Okay.
Thank you.
You can wait. Okay, thanks. Any other questions on the windows? Okay, moving on to tab J then. The GL building roof restoration. EVP Johnson, again, do you want to comment?
Great, thank you. So yeah, the board had asked questions in prior meetings about the roof study that we had done, and through that roof study, there were a number of roofs that have been identified that were of need of maintenance. 3 actually, specifically. The ML firing range roof, which is at a threshold lower than needing board approval. This one here for Great Lakes, and then last but not least is the LA building. The LA building, we will be coming back to the board with that contract in the spring of 2021. So with the Great Lakes building, we need to do repairs in the areas that identified that had been leaked. And then also we need to put a new membrane on the entire roof itself for the Great Lakes building. We had bid out all 3 of those. The lowest bidder for all 3 was Duke Roofing out of Ypsilanti. Duke Roofing has done work for us before, very fine work. And we're recommending the board that we approve the contract with Duke Roofing for $173,700 for the Great Lakes roof.
Okay, thank you. And are you okay with the timeline on this one, or would it benefit you to get it approved?
We are fine with the original timeline. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for EVP Johnson on the GL building?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dave.
So we asked for bids on, what, 3 roof projects, and we're only issuing a contract on one of them?
We're right now we're issuing contracts on 2 out of the 3. They're separate contracts, and one of them is below the board required threshold of $100,000. That was a much smaller contract. A separate contract, the one before the board tonight with Duke Roofing for the GL, and then we will come back to the board in the springtime for a 3rd contract. And that's going to be more significant for LA Roofing.
So the ML Roof 9, was that given to one of the other bidders?
No, it actually was given to Duke as well. So.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Ruth.
I look forward to the LA roof being done because my office was on the 3rd floor and I used the leak in the roof to water my plants. And as I understand it, it does still leak when it's a heavy rain. So I'll look forward to voting on that one.
But how will we water our plants?
I know, yeah. I did ruin one set of student papers the first time it happened, but after that, it was just the plants, so.
Any other questions on tab J before we move on? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to tab K. This is the fiscal year 20 audit. EVP Johnson, you have a presentation here for us?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get it back to the first page. So prior to going through the presentation, so fiscal 20 ended June 30th of this year. Our audit was about 99.9% complete, right on time. And we would have been before the board at the September board meeting for three pieces, really. It's the audited financials we'll go through tonight, the single audit, which is an audit of all the federal fund awards that the college has received, and then what's called the SAS letter, which is the external auditor's assessment of internal controls and in any findings. Unfortunately, the CARES Act money, which is a significant federal source of funding for the college, the CARES Act funding audit compliance procedures have not yet been finalized by the DOE. We're still waiting for those, and Raymond is still waiting for those. We held out as long as we possibly could to come before the board with all three documents. But unfortunately, we have a reporting requirement at the state, actually tonight by midnight, to report our audited financial results. And so we were forced to separate the presentation to the board of the audited financials from the single audit and the related SAS letter. So tonight, I will be going through with the board a review of the audited financial results. And then we have Michelle Fowler, the principal from Raymond, who will present their audit as it relates to the audited financials. And so I will introduce Michelle in just a little bit. So the audited financials for this year on this page. So just to kind of reorient the board, back in September, I actually did present to the board the year-end financial results for our operating budget, the general fund budget. And that's the budget that the board approves, and that's the one that we report on each and every month. There are a number of other funds, accounting funds, that make up the total financial results of the college. And those include the restricted funds for all our grant money that we receive, Pell money the student receives. There's the pension fund, so the state pension and other post-employment fund. There's the auxiliary fund, which is our fitness center activities. And last but not least, our plant fund, which includes all our capital assets, the long-term debt related to those assets, and the consolidation of all those funds makes up the audited financial results of the college. So tonight, we will be presenting those consolidated audited financial results of all those funds, including the general fund. So with that drum roll, we will go through the results.
And can I ask a question on that page?
Absolutely, yes.
Why is there a negative assets and unrestricted funds?
So I will get there in just a minute, if you will, Trustee DeVarty. That's a really good question on that. So for the year, if you can go back to the prior page, please. Go back to the first slide. Thank you very much. Page 2. So the college for the year, the audited financial results is a loss of 10.1 million for the year. Of that 10.1 million, 11.3 million loss relates to GASB 68 and 75, which is our pension and other post-employment. So if you were to pull out the impacts of the state pension plan allocation down to the college, we had a modest surplus of the year. The general fund for the year actually had a surplus of 3.4 million, and that's the results that we went through as a board, the results of that back in September. Another really pointed issue is the amount of liability that the college carries on its balance sheet related to the state pension and other post-employment plans to which the college is part of. And so our total liability on our balance sheet is $192 million, which grew over $9 million this past year, and it grows each and every year. And Trustee DeVarty, to your question about the net assets. So the net assets is you take your assets, total assets, less your liabilities, and kind of that net is kind of the net assets of the college. And so the net assets of the college are at 9.5 million total. But it's really important to look at the pieces of that. Of that 9.5 million, about 132 million of that is really our plant fund, the net invested capital. And then we have a negative 122 million in unrestricted. But a piece of that unrestricted, the biggest piece, is pension and OPEB, which is a negative $164 million. So if you pull out the pension impact, we actually have a positive general fund balance of north of $40 million. But it's important to see the pieces, and it's really important to see what the impact of our allocation of the state pension plan is on our total financial position. If we go to the next slide, please. So with, you say, wow, that's, we had a negative result for the year. What's the positive? The positive is that in the general fund that we actually were able to add about 3.2 million to our rainy day fund for the year. And that's really significant. That, the college has been working for many years now to slowly and steadily try to grow that rainy day fund. So we have about 3 months of operations now set aside. And that's so important. From my point of view, that's about the bare minimum that you would want to have. It really allows the institution to absorb all of the minor and sometimes major waves of timing of when funding comes to us, and sometimes gives the college time to respond to external factors. So like a state budget cut, or if a state couldn't balance their budget and they couldn't provide funding as they normally would 4 months, or if there was a big adjustment in assessed values and that had an impact on property taxes. All those things can create a real negative short-term impact on cash flow. So having in excess of 30 million in our rainy day fund now is really important for us. And also, as we've grown our rainy day fund and we've continued to pay off long-term debt, the Higher Learning Commission uses what's called the Composite Financial Index, or CFI index, as one measure of financial strength of an institution. And WCC's CFI before the impact of pension accounting is a positive 4.42. But when you layer in the impacts of all that pension accounting, including that very large liability, we have a negative 4.0. The Higher Learning Commission has said that you need to maintain a CFI of at least 1.0, and they really view that you need to have at least a 3.0 to be viewed to be in strong financial position. We started out back in 2013 with a CFI of 1.77, and each and every year through all the strong work of the college, we've been able to grow that to 4.42. And that really puts us in a very good place as we deal with a lot of uncertainty as a result of the pandemic. It's a good place for the college to be. Next slide, please. So a little bit more detail. This is the net assets, the net liabilities, and the net position. I think what's important to see is that our net assets have dropped a little bit, and that's because we've been using cash. The board has been good to fund our deferred maintenance fund. There's a little bit of lag of when the board funds it and then when we spend it. This past year, we had a big year of spend. We spent about 6.7 million of our cash through prior year fundings and current year fundings. And so we've reinvested that in capital assets. So we've had a very small decline in total net assets. I think what's really important to see is that line 8, the total liabilities continues to grow, of which line 7, the non-current liabilities, is the biggest piece, and that's all pension related. And then you can see down on line 12, other restricted net assets. So $42 million of other restricted net assets. And of that amount, about 36 million is unencumbered. So that's our rainy day fund. About 36 million of that 42 million is our rainy day fund. Next slide, please. So now we move on to our operating results. So revenue less expenses, and you'll see that our operating revenue stayed level for these three years. And for that matter, our expenses prior to pension has stayed level and just growing with the rate of inflation. Its pension expense has been the biggest impact to our expenses, and you can see that's grown from about 6 million in 2018 up to 16 million in 2020. So pension expense coming from the state pension plan along with other post-employment benefits has grown by 10 million a year for the college. The biggest share of that expense is just the actuarial assessment of the growth of the pension and other post-employment benefit obligations and the growth of that cost as compared to the assets that are in the plan that can help pay for that benefit and the assumed earnings rate on those assets. And so, those two fundamentals put pressure, especially when we have a shrinking plan participant base, meaning that as K through 12 institutions and colleges are all dealing with kind of the economic realities, you have less and less folks that are participants in the plan and therefore less contributions to those plans. But that total benefit hasn't changed because you have a lot of retirees that are at or are going to start to receive. And so that puts pressure on that total expense for that. Next slide, please. A little deeper dive on the operating revenues, that you'll see that tuition and fee revenues stayed level for all 3 years. So even though there's been a modest decline in enrollment, we've been able to make that up because we've been able to grow enrollment in higher tuition rate areas such as our out of district markets. That's really helped to balance off that tuition and fees. You'll note that grant revenue actually grew this past year, and that's because of CARES Act money. For fiscal 20, we received about 1.4 million of CARES Act money. It really was just the start of the total CARES Act allocation. Just as a point of reference, the college was allocated through federal and back through state money, total CARES Act money of about 7.75 million in total, of which more than 4 million of that was in direct student grants for that. But that's the reason for that increase. On the flip side, you'll see that auxiliary services actually dropped about 1.5 million. And that's because of the impact of the pandemic on conference services and the fitness center. And so that's why that revenue dropped. Next slide, please. If we move to operating expenses, you will see that just bottom line from 2019 to 2020, that we actually grew by $5 million. That's solely related to pension expense. You remember a few slides ago, you saw there was about a 6 million increase in pension expense. So that pension expense increase is showing itself here. If you were to pull out the impact of the state pension plan, we would have been about level year over year from 2019 to 2020. And about 65% of our operating budget continues to go to support directly instruction, instructional support, and student services. So the cost to directly serve the student is about 65% of our budget, and that stayed very, very steady for us. Next slide, please. Non-operating revenue. So, something that we don't look at on a month in, month out basis, HEL revenue for external audited financial statements is counted as revenue, and it's non-operating revenue as it's defined. So you'll see that Pell revenue dropped just a little bit year over year from 13.1 million to 12.7, and that drop really is commensurate with our student enrollment for that period. So student access to Pell really didn't change. The average levels really didn't change. It really was just trending with enrollment. State appropriations, you'll see, dropped. That's because last year, of course, we had a 10% cut in state appropriations as the state tried to respond to the impact of the pandemic on their budgets. And once again, we are so blessed with property tax revenue, very significant growth in property tax revenue, which helps to balance off our total budget needs. And for cash flows, we were about break even in cash flow. So the cash that we generated for the year was used to help pay for deferred maintenance. And so we were about break even for the year on total cash flow of the college. The next slide, please. So if you look at our general fund revenue, so I'm going to take us away from the total revenue of the college back to the general fund and look at how much of our operating budget comes from each of the pieces. You'll note that local government revenue actually grew to about 51%. That had been running 48, 49%, and it grew to 51% for two reasons. One, we had a big jump up in property tax revenue because of growth in assessed values. And two, state aid is lower because of the cut last year. So as a percentage, property tax revenue grew. Tuition fees is stayed about 30%, and again, state aid is about 12%. And then lastly, the next slide, on the expense side, instruction is 42%, instructional support 12%, and student services and student aid 13%, being the biggest slices of those pies. So if you add up, once again, instruction, instructional support, and student services, that's 2/3 of our operating budget goes to directly support the student, with the rest of the slices with the institutional administration, physical plant, and technology staying very steady from year to year. So prior to me introducing Michelle Fowler, any questions on the operating results and the audited financial results?
I've got a question.
Trustee DeVarty, yes.
On the depreciation, we're not a for-profit enterprise where depreciation becomes a expense, a write-off. We have all of our capital assets depreciate. All of the buildings depreciate, right?
Yes.
And that's a negative on our asset value every year. Have any of them depreciated to zero?
Yes. Some have. The shorter lived ones have. Equipment, our technology equipment, our building equipment, building systems have. The actual buildings, some are getting close, but many we've made improvements. Our annual depreciation expense is about $7.6 million a year.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
So what happened? We're still using buildings that are, according to asset valuation, because of depreciation, close to zero.
We are.
That doesn't, I mean, there's some, I need to wrap my head around it. So at some point, I'd love to sit down with you when we can have lunch face to face and get a sense of how depreciation is relevant to our financial stuff at the college. I can understand in private businesses how it's important because you pay taxes every year on all of that, but we don't do that. But at some point, that's for a future discussion.
Okay. Yeah. Would love to go through that in detail. Thank you. So with that said, I will then introduce and turn over the meeting to Michelle Fowler. If we could go to the next tab here. So this is our audited financials that for the year. And I've taken you through kind of the numbers part of this in that presentation that I just went through. And then Michelle Fowler from Raymond will walk through their audit process and steps and any other highlights that she'd like to bring. So Michelle.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that introduction, EVP Johnson. So can you all hear me and see me? Because right now I can only see Bill.
Yep, I see you fine.
So, okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure. So thank you so much for allowing me to join you this evening. Before we go through some of the highlights for the audited financial statement document, I did want to communicate to the board that we really appreciated the cooperation that the audit team received from everybody at the college. This was just such a unique year. We had to perform the audit 100% remote. And so, through the use of technology and making sure that, all of the information that was exchanged, it was secure. But also just a lot of organization and communication to make sure that everything went smoothly and we were able to get everything done on time. So again, for the timing for this financial statement audit, everything went fine. There was just a little bit of a delay in the presentation because we were hoping everything else would catch up on the Office of Management and Budget and Department of Education side as it relates to the new federal loans program. So just wanted to mention that before we get started. Okay, so I assume, Vanessa, you're going to scroll this for me, correct? Okay, great. So as EVP Johnson had indicated in his presentation, he pretty much went through that management discussion and analysis section of this. That goes through and just summarizes everything that happened during the fiscal year, as well as comparing that to prior years. So we don't really need to go through that. So Vanessa, if you could just please go to pages 16 and 17 of the PDF, or the numbers at the bottom of the page would be right there we go, perfect. I'm sorry, actually numbers 14 and 15. Okay, so these two pages right here indicate the independent auditor's report for this fiscal 2020 audit for the college. And so I am happy to report that the college did receive an unmodified, or what we call a clean opinion. So that's what you see on these two pages going through and indicating that the opinion is unmodified. So that's very positive. And then I was not going to go through any of the financial information because it was nice. No new standards this year for fiscal 2020. So you're not seeing anything accounted for or presented any differently. No new required disclosures or anything like that in all of the footnotes. So not too much that I need to go over in changes from a standards standpoint. But Vanessa, if you could please go to page 57, which would be footnote number 11. I know it's this is a large document. And so as Vanessa's scrolling down to page 57, which is note 11, I wanted to point this out because this is new from the standpoint not required by any type of accounting standard, but just making sure that any users of the financial statements understand what the impacts were to WCC during the year due to this pandemic. So it doesn't go into a lot of detail, but it does provide some information as far as how things needed to be offered differently to the students. Talks a little bit about, needing to close the health center temporarily, but then also does go through and indicate, some of this CARES Act money that EVP Johnson was mentioning before and what those expenditures would have been. And certainly that was primarily related to getting that emergency aid in the hands of the students. So you can see that that was $1,349,500. And then there was about $373,000 that was actually expended before the end of the year that would have been an institutional portion that would have came from the Department of Ed for the college to use to respond to having to go to all online instruction and other expenditures that were necessary as a result of the pandemic. And also what's important from an audit standpoint is that here management is letting the users of the statements know nobody has a crystal ball. So if you look at the bottom of this paragraph saying, you know, we just don't know what the extent of the ultimate impact will be on the college. We do know there's going to be, you know, some impact, and EVP Johnson talked about that, you know, when earlier in the meeting going over the year-to-date results for fiscal 21. We're all still seeing the impacts of this, and we just don't know the full effect. So this is just letting the users of the statements know there's no way to determine that at the time that these statements were issued. So that completes my presentation of the document itself. Before I go over some of the other audit results, does anybody have any questions before we move on to that portion of the presentation?
Forgive me, Michelle. Thank you so much. I don't have a question, but if you could, is there any way you can enlarge it? Because my bifocals can only see so much.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. All right, does that help? Trustee Davis?
We do have a hard copy of this that was delivered, I believe.
Yes, I know, but it's on the other side of the room, and I'm not going to get it.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other questions on that? All right, okay. So as EVP Johnson had indicated before, normally at this meeting, we would also go through and present our results of the audit, including any internal control matters. Because we are not able to finish auditing the federal awards programs for the college because of these new funds through the CARES Act, which would be the higher education emergency relief funds, we can't release that letter. But I can at least communicate to the board right now, as it relates to this financial statement audit, we did not have any audit adjustments that would have been a result of the procedures that we performed. And what that means is when we went through and did all of our testing, we did not find any errors. And so there wasn't anything that we had to come to management and say, you need to record this. And if you don't, then your statements will be materially misstated. So again, very, very clean from that perspective. And then also we did not have any matters on the internal control side that we would say would be a significant deficiency or a material weakness in internal control. So just wanted to let you know that. So when we are able to complete the single audit and then also release that related letter, just know that you're not going to see any comments as it relates to internal controls or any adjustments for the financial statement audit itself. So I think that's important for everyone to know. And then also, you know, we talked about when I started this presentation, no new accounting standards for fiscal 2020, and nothing significant that's going to be impacting the college in fiscal 2021 that we need to talk about. So when you do receive that final letter, we always have as an addendum some of those upcoming pronouncements and the years that those will be effective for, but anything significant is still a couple of years down the road. So there isn't anything that we need to discuss as it relates to that at this time. Okay, any questions on that before I give you a brief update on where we're at with the single audit? Okay. I think I would be able to see anyone if they had questions, correct? They would come up. Okay, all right. Okay, so just to finish my presentation, so with the single audit, we do think we're promised any day that the Office of Management and Budget is going to be releasing what they're calling the COVID-19 addendum to the compliance supplement. And why that is so important is because of the level of the dollars that were spent related to the higher education emergency relief fund of about 1.7 million. We are required to test that federal program is a major program for this year. And until that addendum is released, we don't know the compliance requirements that we have to test as auditors. And so that's what we have to follow when we're doing a single audit. So until that comes out, we cannot complete the full single audit. Like I said, they're expecting it to come out any day. And the plan would be that they are extending the deadlines because they're so late in getting this out. Just to give you a perspective, the part one of this compliance supplement that was everything that would have been pre-CARES Act, that came out in August. And so you can see how late this is. But we do not plan on delaying that long or completing it in March. We will try to get everything we can for this HERF program done as soon as possible and get the single audit report released. I did want to let you know for the Student Financial Aid Cluster, which would be the other major program that's required for the detailed testing for fiscal 2020. And just to put in perspective, that was $27.1 million in expenditures for all of the student financial aid programs for the year. And I'm happy to report we did not have any findings with all of the requirements that we needed to look at for that cluster of programs. So very clean, our status on that so far. So with that, that concludes my formal presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
A question, and maybe it's for Bill, I'm not sure, Michelle. So what is it that we're giving to the state by midnight?
The audited financial statements. This document here, Trustee Hatcher, the audited financials is going to the state tonight.
Okay.
Assuming that, pardon me?
Hand delivered or?
No, electronically. We're doing everything electronically.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, very good, Michelle. Thank you very much to you and your team. Just piggyback on what she said, it was a challenging year in terms of auditing, and really the Raymond team. And I want to give special kudos to the finance team, Ben Hunholz, Carrie Holt, the entire finance team. And to Lori Trapp, the financial aid director, and her team, and Linda Blakey, they all did an outstanding job of thinking through how we were going to do this audit in a full remote way and not cause a lot of extra work on Raymond's part and get through it. So kudos to the team at large. So Chair Fleming, I turn it back over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any board members have any other comments or questions on the audit report? All right, I need a motion.
So moved.
A second?
I move we accept the audit report.
Okay. That was I heard a first and a second. Is that right?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Going once, going twice. Okay, hearing none. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
Navardi, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everybody. Next, adjournment of the meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Hatcher moved. Second.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion on adjournment? Okay, hearing
Merry
none.
Christmas, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas. Absolutely.
We're in the middle of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to everybody.
Yes.
Happy Hanukkah to you guys.
Thank you.
Oh, just real quick plug. We got a whole bunch of Hanukkah stuff at TJ Maxx on Claire. So if you want some for next year, you better come through.
So we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great
Yeah.
have a great end of this year and a happy new year to all.
Yes.
Ditto. Okay.
Thank
Any-
you.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Vote. We gotta
We gotta vote. We gotta vote, people. All right.
No.
Calm down, everybody. We gotta vote.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Fleming,
Fleming, yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Milliken, yes.
Treasurer Davis,
Davis, yes.
Secretary DeVarty,
Vardy, yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Hatcher, yes.
Trustee Landau,
Landau, yes.
Trustee McKnight Morton.
McKnight Morton, yes.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.